It's like the fall. Why is it hot and humid again? Stop this right now. Stop being hot. Here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of the new National album, Sleep Well Beast. The National is an indie and art rock band nearing almost 2 decades of music, so good for them on that. However, that doesn't really change the fact that going into this album, I wasn't really all that excited. It's no secret that the band's last record, Trouble Will Find Me, kind of rubbed me the wrong way, which to me is personally disappointing, not only because I think a lot of their older work is quite good, but also there are a lot of characteristics to the National sound that I feel naturally I should just like and take to. Their sleek style, their mature songwriting, frontman Matt Berninger's very deep, crooning vocal style. Also the band's very subtle post-punk influences. Sometimes the band's music can feel a little gray and lifeless, lacking in anything in terms of a pulse or excitement. But this new album over here brings a nice change of pace. It's a pleasant surprise. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Not saying the National have all of a sudden become this loud, bold, off-the-wall band. Oh man, they're pulling out all the stops. This album's fireworks. No, that's not the case on this new record. However, the National don't seem quite as listless on this album. The instrumentation sounds a lot fuller, more detailed, more vibrant. It's not really skeletal or super empty like the last record, or kind of washed out and a tad too much reverb as it was in my opinion on High Violet. Sleep Well Beast is a very tangible album, both musically and lyrically. I don't just feel like I'm listening to some kind of soundtrack of musical pastiche for a white guy sulking in his high-rise apartment that he rented in a freshly gentrified neighborhood as he is getting dressed and ready to go out and get drunk at his favorite overpriced wine bar. Not to say that that isn't an accurate description of this album to a degree, but Sleep Well Beast isn't just that. Matt's vocals on this thing are a lot closer, a lot more intimate, which I think makes the sorrowful demeanor of his singing that much more potent. The track list on this thing is appropriately broken up into moody dirges and propulsive rockers. This thing is calm, it's meditative, it's downhearted, but beautiful as well, and kind of numbing. The very still, sad, and lonely ballad No One Else Will Be There starts the album off pretty nicely. The song is very subtle, almost has an ambient vibe. It kind of lulls me into a trance that the following track, Day I Die, smashes into pieces, with its screaming guitar leads and driving tom rhythms. Not to mention that melodically, I think this is one of the most anthemic tracks the National has dropped since, like, Boxer. Following this, we have the hypnotizing Walk It Back, which sets a very cerebral pace. It kind of locks me into place as I slowly soak in the utterly defeated vibe of Matt's singing and lyrics. And there are more electrifying highlights to come down the track listing, like the System Only Dreams in Total Darkness and Turtleneck, both of which hit some very passionate highs. I mean, especially Turtleneck, like the drums and guitars on that track are almost thunderous. And for whatever reason, as Matt picks up the intensity in his vocals, and the band really starts roaring, their music almost becomes like a bit of a dead ringer for some late era Nick Cave, but without going full ripoff. Like, it's kind of tasteful and very flattering, and I think exposes a very essential and a very nice major influence for the band. It's also cool to hear the band incorporating more electronics into their repertoire as well on this album, and to hear those electronics get infused into their typical style so well. It brings so much extra color, a new kind of snappiness to their style, and the timbre and tone of the percussion and the synthesizers kind of have that same cool, slick, laid-back but moody vibe that their drums and guitars and vocals typically do. Highlights like I'll Still Destroy You and Guilty Party, the latter of which features this haunting lullaby-style melody coming from Matt's vocals that, despite its subtlety, to me was one of the stickiest moments on the entire record. That and just the heart-wrenching tale told in the lyrics. However, I wouldn't say this record is just all glory from front to back. While it is just a tad longer than the band's previous material, it's a little long-winded, especially when considering just how slow and dreary the National sound typically is. And there are some songs where I feel like the instrumental build or the songwriting itself is just kind of off, like the quietly puttering electronics and sad sack piano chords on Born to Beg that I think leave a lot to be desired. tired, especially considering that Matt singing atop this instrumentation just kind of mutters his way sadly through the entire song. This is probably a moment when any other frontman would really sell the track, but that's not Matt. Then we have Empire Line, which in my opinion is almost as underwhelming and redundant, if not for the slight instrumental crescendo toward the very end of the track that isn't even really that gratifying. And the last several tracks of the album does not leave the record with a strong finish. In fact, it is pretty much the most forgettable material on the entire project. From Karen at the Liquor Store, which almost ends out of nowhere, to the title track, which isn't really interesting enough to justify its 6-minute runtime, as it's mostly packed with quirky instrumental filler orbiting around the groove the band set earlier in the song. But for National fans, this is probably exactly what you're expecting or even wanting from the band at this point in their career. I don't know. Take my critiques of the National with a grain of salt, because at this point in their career, a lot more people seem to be crazier about them than me. But still, even I can see that the band has grown and improved vastly over their last couple of albums, even if those were very well received too. The band's performances and songwriting seem a little bit more engaging. The production is clearer and more vibrant, more punchy, more balanced as well. Each piece of instrumentation has a very distinct flavor and place in the mix. And this is the first time in a long time when the band's music has truly been emotionally stirring and relatable, even if their shtick is still kind of glazed over in a first world problem malaise. I'm feeling a light to decent 7 on this album. Transition. Have you given this album a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe and please don't cry. Just leave an angry comment in the comments if you're angry, okay? Okay. The National, Sleep Well Beast. Over here next to my head is another National review you can watch. Please do that, or you can click on the link to subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in the next one. Forever.